Hello, I am Dr. Mirela Cerneanu, and I welcome you to the Wellness Optimizing Warrior MD podcast, the WOW MD podcast. I am not your typical wellness coach, and this is not a typical wellness podcast. Here, I'll discuss educational facts about health, hormones, intimacy, anti-aging, and beauty trends, all very hot topics, to empower you to make great choices when it comes to your health and to your body. I want you to go, wow, I did not know that. Or, wow, this is going to make a great difference for me. Our healthcare system is broken and it needs a revolution. You and I can start one today. I am willing to share my knowledge with the world if you're willing to listen. Let's get started. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode continuing the series of how to stay healthy in our American corrupt and uncaring healthcare system. Now, when I'm saying it is corrupt and uncaring, it does not imply that every single person working in the American healthcare system is corrupt and uncaring, because the majority of medical health professionals and the medical support staff are actually amazing, dedicated, selfless, very hardworking people who are there to make a difference and to help others. I'm talking about the big system, the monster of a system with the insane numbers of organizations that are positioned between you, the patient, and the actual medical provider or medical team. The reality, the very stark reality, is that the current healthcare system in the United States and probably in a lot of other very well-developed countries is so poorly run and has become so bureaucratic that a really sick person can easily not receive the best of care in one of the richest countries in the world because of either paperwork that needs to be done, authorizations that need to be approved by the insurance company, availability of testing, coverage issues, as well as many other reasons. And another stark reality is that the current healthcare system that we have in many countries, not just the United States, is overcome by a huge need for a dedicated, talented, selfless medical provider team. And instead, we are facing a huge shortage of doctors that no one is really talking about very much. Now, as a patient and customer of the system, the best you can do to deal with the situation is literally minimize your need to use this system that is run by the healthcare government or by the healthcare insurance plans. So I'd like to continue the discussion that I started in part 3 of my series when I was talking about exercise and how diet and exercise are absolutely key to any meaningful healing. And I'm going to get right to the point, and I talked about exercise in the last episode. I want to talk a little bit about diet in this episode, and I promise you, it's not to lecture you on diet. But I want you to think of these top 6 reasons, just 6 reasons, why we should eat very healthy and very clean. Number 1, because we are what we eat. Our food ultimately transforms into fuel for all our metabolic pathways. We eat food that is clean and healthy. We keep our metabolic pathways smooth, clean, and operating in healthy mode. If we eat contaminated, dirty, processed, packaged, or restaurant-cooked food, we will unfortunately fuel very dysfunctional metabolic pathways and inflammation, which will lead or continue to support a dysfunctional immune system, causing or contributing to autoimmune disease, ultimately cancer, as well as lead to and foster chronic illnesses like hypertension, cardiovascular disease, obesity, arthritis, diabetes, and so on and so forth. Number 2, very simple, eat the rainbow so you can feel and look like a rainbow, lifted, hopeful, and beautiful. Number 3, why should we eat healthy? Because food is medicine and food can heal just as it could harm us. Switching to a clean, fresh food diet that is home cooked can improve digestive health, can improve your microbiome, can help reduce or remove inflammation from your body. It will sustain and probably promote weight loss. And it will certainly improve all your metabolic pathways, possibly eliminate the need for medication like blood pressure medication, diabetes, or anti-inflammatory medication. If you think you cannot control blood pressure with diet, if you think you cannot control diabetes or arthritis with diet, think again. Yes, you can. Number 4, eat good food for good mood. Now, this sounds like a little marketing cliche, but it's not. Your brain needs B vitamins, folate, minerals, and healthy fat that can be found in clean, fresh protein, fruits, and vegetables. Number 5, eat a healthy macros balanced diet in order to balance your hormones. All the hormones in the body rely on clean metabolic pathways so that they can be processed and they keep us safe, in the sense that dysfunctional metabolic pathways can unfortunately turn your hormones into very bad and unhealthy metabolites, byproduct of hormone metabolism. Now, this can increase, unfortunately, your risk of cancers that are hormonally sensitive. So in order for your body to make the natural hormones in the right amount, you need healthy mitochondrial support, the little power cell that fuels every cell in our body. And that can only happen with adequate, clean, and healthy nourishment that comes from your food. Yes, you can supplement vitamins, but that's what vitamins are, supplementation. Without a solid base, any pyramid will topple. The base of your nourishment pyramid is what you put in your mouth, the food. The top of the pyramid, so much smaller impact and more like an icing on a cake, are your vitamins and supplements. And number 6 reason why we need to eat healthy and clean, and again, last but not least, is because clean and healthy food can help support a strong, well-functioning, guess what? Immune system and a body that is free of inflammation. Eating junk food will destroy your health, make you feel like junk, tired, achy, foggy, and probably foul-tempered. Remember this. You are what you eat. Simple and clear. Please get this message. We need clean, fresh food to live well, to feel well, and to thrive and live a long, happy, healthy, purposeful, and accomplished life. If we eat bad foods, we will feel like crap. We will use excuses all the time, and we all use these excuses. I've used them myself. I have no time to cook. I'm ordering food is easy, quick, and I'm hungry. I have no time to shop for fresh foods. I'm just going to pick something up. Let's eat it and be done with it. Or let's go out. It is fun. It tastes good. There's no cleanup. It's awesome. We, as a society, all of us, me, you, everybody else, we have such an array of prepackaged processed foods available. And it is so easy to simply eat pre-cooked food all the time, or just simply make a reservation at a very large number of available restaurants, sit down at a table at a restaurant, order food, enjoy the meal, go home without needing to plan, prepare, clean up after cooking. Many people are simply doing just that. But what is wrong with that? Well, let me tell you. If you listened to the podcast episodes about food addiction and my dirty diet, is our diet dirty and all of that, where I talk about how contaminated and messed up our food chain has become, and I'm not the only one talking about that. It's making mainstream media news. Then you would understand what I'm talking about. Restaurant food is no different than the processed or prepackaged food, because you have no control over how your food is cooked. What kind of oil are they using? What temperature? What kind of ingredients? What kind of hot plate? And what else has been burnt on that hot plate? And how are they cleaning the hot plate? What chemicals that are now being burnt off into your food? What kind of cookware it has been cooked in? And you have no idea where the ingredients that are used to cook your food are sourced from. It is a lot of work to plan, to prepare, to cook, to clean up after a home-cooked meal. That is very, very true. It is time-consuming and it is more expensive than the alternatives. However, that is the only way you can have clean food. let's talk a little bit about guidance. Like, who can guide you? Who can give you some idea like, hey, what you're doing is not good. Let's do something different. Well, outside of a nutritionist, is there anybody else who can help with this? Unfortunately, many doctors talk about diet and exercise, but very simplistically. We just skip over the top. We're just skimming the surface. The truth and the reality is, as a doctor, you need to go deep. Need to talk to a patient one-on-one for at least 20 to 30 minutes just about their lifestyle to understand what is happening in their life in a manner that can usefully and impactfully help that patient. Because we need to understand how much their lifestyle is affecting their health. Now, ask yourself as a patient, of all the doctors that you have seen in your lifetime so far, how many of them have asked you these questions? How often do you exercise? What type of exercise do you do? How many have offered advice on types of exercise that might be better for your body or for your specific health condition, pregnant, not pregnant, conceiving, not conceiving, or for your age? How many doctors have asked you specifically about your diet or asked you how many times a day do you eat? When do you start eating? When is your first meal? When is your last meal of the day? Do you eat prepackaged processed foods? How many times do you eat in a restaurant a week? And then perhaps offered advice on how you can possibly incorporate a cleaner, better diet. Well, not many doctors do that. And that is for two reasons. Number one, we, the doctors, are not trained in how important the diet and exercise are for someone's health. Yes, we know. Yes, we get the basics in school, but nobody really does any training or there is no curriculum to train doctors about diet, nutrition, and the benefits of exercise. All we are taught is how to give you a medication for every possible medical condition you have. And more recently, doctors are so busy and overwhelmed, you will likely get a medication for each symptom you have without much time to work up whether these symptoms put together might signal something important, possibly deadly if left untreated, which is the sad truth of medicine today. And number two, talking to you about diet and exercise is not rewarded financially in any way, shape, or form. The doctor has no time to do that because he's got to go through a bunch of patients and he's going to see a bunch of people. And unfortunately, talking about diet and exercise is not codable using codes, medical codes. So it's not codable and not reimbursable by insurance. Let me change tack a little and ask you something different. How many times have you thought that your doctor has no business asking you these questions about diet and exercise? And how many times you might have thought that these diet questions don't really pertain to what is happening in your health today, right now, or at the moment that you go to see the doctor? And how many times and how many of you perhaps have felt maybe annoyed, maybe belittled or bullied when the doctor tried to offer advice simply on how you can clean up your act? And here's another truth, that if you are, as a patient, not in a receiving place, you're not ready, you cannot actually receive advice from a well-intended physician, mid-level practitioner, maybe even nutritionist, because it will literally fall on deaf ears. More so, it might antagonize you, the patient, who might lose sight of the fact that the doctor is there to simply help you. The doctor has no hidden agenda. It just wants to fix your problem. So instead, perhaps believing that he or she is maybe the enemy just because their advice is different and is demanding that you change your current beliefs or your current lifestyle that maybe you are loath to change, probably because change is always hard and time-consuming and because we are creatures of habit. And unfortunately, that is what the food industry is banking on for the big bucks. Creating, developing, cooking, and serving habit-forming foods and dishes. So let me come back to staying healthy. I don't want to get diluted here. How to stay healthy in this healthcare system that is rigged to only focus on disease and in which none of your conventionally trained doctors or mid-level providers, PAs, or family nurse practitioners are actually trained to focus on health. Nothing in their curriculum, in med school, PA school, family nurse practitioner programs, has any training on what is it to stay healthy, maintain health, There's no such thing. So how do you stay healthy and remain healthy in a system that has no training curriculum on health, on what is actually being healthy, on what is the best diet or what is the best exercise or how to manage stress and how to counsel someone on staying healthy? Unfortunately, that's because all the providers, MDs and mid-levels are trained in how to diagnose and treat disease. Well, for a lot of you, you might say, well, there's nothing wrong with this model. The absence of disease means I'm healthy, right? So if I am not sick, I don't need to go to the doctor. I don't have a problem. Wrong. The absence of manifested disease does not mean you are not diseased. You are not dysfunctional. You could suffer from many silent conditions that you know nothing about until about the time you have a stroke or a heart attack. For example, high blood pressure. It is mostly silent. Heart disease is mostly silent. Many cancers are silent until they are advanced to the point they have overcome the body's ability to heal, even with modern or holistic medicine. Diabetes is silent, sometimes until very advanced. Liver disease is silent until you actually could have a really big problem. And I could go on and on and on. It could take years for metabolic dysfunction to manifest with signs and symptoms. So please do not wait for signs and symptoms. Please think about what it means to be healthy. I talked about this in a recent previous episode. You just have to go back about 2 episodes and listen and think about what you and your body need in order to stay healthy and just do it. Waiting for disease to hit you and then spending time, energy, and money to heal is absolutely the wrong way to approach staying healthy or health in general. We need to step away from this model and we need to understand that demand drives resources. If you, the client, the customer, the patient, wants preventive measures, wants their doctor and their mid-level trained in the art of staying healthy, then look for these type of providers. If you, the client, demand and shop for an insurance plan that offers reimbursement and pays for significant preventive care to keep you healthy, maybe it's a plan that pays for supplements and vitamins. They don't do that now, but they might in the future, hopefully, fingers crossed. Maybe it's a plan that will pay for peptide therapy, bioidentical hormones. Then maybe if you keep asking, hey, does your plan cover this? Does your plan cover this? Maybe people up at the top will start to listen and they might start considering to offer these if the demand is there. Now, you, the customer, have power, and there is power in numbers. Did you know that bioidentical compounded hormones used to be covered by your health insurance plan? Yes, maybe about 10 years ago, that was absolutely the norm. Now, your insurance plan covers less and less of what you need to stay healthy, and they pay more and more for costly drugs and devices that are needed to keep you so-called disease-free. Think about this for a minute. Medical school teaches doctors about how to diagnose and treat disease with drugs. Many times, doctors treat symptoms with medications and drugs without even dedicating the time and testing resources you would really need to identify and treat the actual problem. Let me give you an example. All autoimmune disease, severe eczema and psoriasis, for example, is caused by a dysfunctional immune system. The biologic drugs that you see advertised on TV do not fix the immune system problem. They simply suppress certain pathways, acting like a Band-Aid, and it does work. Your immune system quiets down, pipes down, so it's no longer attacking your skin. So the rash, the itching, stop. It goes away. Unfortunately, because you've done nothing to correct the actual problem, as soon as you stop the medication, the pain, the rash, all your symptoms come back, and sometimes they come back with a vengeance. Again, that's because nothing was done to fix the core issue, the root cause, like we like to say, that created the dysfunction, at least while you were on the medication. Let me use another example. Many doctors simply treat high blood pressure. They do not bother understanding the problem or attempting to fix the problem. So they recommend medication that will lower your blood pressure in a number of ways through various mechanisms. Diuretic gets rid of the extra water. Beta blocker slows down your heart, so your heart doesn't pump blood so fast, so it lowers your blood pressure. Calcium channel blockers that vasodilate your blood vessels. ACE inhibitors that inhibit angiotensin-converting enzymes, the most powerful vasoconstrictor in the body, so on and so forth. But again, that's the same as the autoimmune dysfunction and the biologic drugs that inhibit certain pathways. You have the drugs for blood pressure that inhibit certain pathways and mechanisms, leading to an artificial lowering of your blood pressure. As soon as you stop the medication, you have high blood pressure again, actually that very next day. So that's not fixing anything. As doctors or mid-level providers, we get our education and learn to treat you, the patient, with medication. In reality, we are actually taught to treat symptoms because heart disease, arthritis, pain, autoimmune rashes and eczema, cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, to name just a few, are literally the symptoms of a metabolic dysfunction and altered pathway that persists for months or years, enough to cause permanent dysfunction that the body can no longer overcome or correct, which will lead to symptomatic disease. So we're not focusing on the problem. We're just learning how to treat symptoms. Did you know that according to the FDA, there are over 20,000 prescription drugs available to be prescribed by a doctor to a patient? 20,000 different kinds of medications. The top 4 most prescribed medications in the United States currently are the statin drugs for cholesterol, for lowering cholesterol, metformin, a diabetes medication with many uses. We use it for PCOS and other things, lisinopril for blood pressure, and levothyroxine for low thyroid. The truth is, Big Pharma makes these medications. They make billions from their sales. They teach doctors how to use them and prescribe them. Then they condition patients to believe that taking these medications is the only way to control their symptoms and conditions. The insurance plans cover and pay for these medications, partially or totally, but they do not pay for vitamins or supplements that would help correct the dysfunction that caused the disease. They do not pay for you to exercise and stay fit and healthy, which will correct your diabetes and will correct your blood pressure. They don't pay for anything that has to do with preventing disease or correcting disease in a healthy, natural, holistic way. So the system is rigged against us. The system we are currently in is focused on disease, and this needs to change. So the best question you can ask yourself as a patient, and maybe ask your doctor, is how can I avoid spending money on expensive medications, on devices and procedures? How can I avoid spending money on costly medications? How can I avoid needing surgery all the way in the hospital? How can I avoid getting cancer? How can I avoid getting seriously ill? Well, I'm going to leave you hanging for a bit and let you rest for the rest of the week to ponder all this information. And I'll come back next week where I'm leaving off right here. But I do hope that this upcoming week, this will get you thinking on how can I avoid needing medication? How can I avoid getting disease and dysfunction that requires medication to make me feel better? Because this is what these medications, all of them, ultimately are. They're designated to alleviate and reduce symptoms to make you feel better. They do not cure any illness or disease with the simple exception of antibiotics. All of these medications cause many side effects because they alter God-given pathways that are meant to keep you healthy and functioning optimally. In the end, these medications that I'm talking about, they might actually harm you. Of course, your doctor or your mid-level provider wants to do you no harm. But unintentionally, many of us, doctors and mid-level providers, are trained and conditioned to believe that the only way to help is with medication, surgery, or procedures. Well, obviously, sometimes it's necessary to have a certain medication that would allow you to have a procedure, or you need to have a procedure to diagnose a condition or to remove an organ that's severely ill or diseased. But remember, there are no medications without side effects. None. Go ahead and Google other medications that have no side effects. You will get a very clear answer. No, they all have side effects because they are designed to alter something in your body artificially, which will lead to a cascade of events that sometimes is hard to reverse even if you stop the medication. So it is best not to need any medication. So ask your doctor, how do I get this fixed without medication? Is there another way? Why do I have this issue? What is causing my heart disease? What is causing my high blood pressure? What is causing my arthritis? Why do I have an autoimmune disease? Why did I develop cancer? There's always an answer to the why if you dig deep and you pay attention to how did you get here? What was the pathway that led you here? If the answer to the question from the doctor is, well, I don't know, I'm not sure, consider the fact that the person you are asking might not help you in a meaningful way. Continue searching for someone who can. More on this in the future, in the next couple of weeks, when I talk about the annual health exam, why the disease-focused model and the way we practice and we use medical insurance is broken and perhaps useless for many of us. And I'm going to end here on a simple note. A lot of people confuse hormones with medications. Hormone replacement is its own category of treatment forms. And yes, these hormones are no longer produced by your body. That's why we need to replace them. And there's like a whole misconception about how these hormones are considered drugs, when technically they are drugs and they do have side effects, but they do something that's very different than a blood pressure medication, a cancer drug, a diabetes medication. They literally work with your pathways. They work like the lubricating fluid that you need for your joints. They make everything work smoother and better because they bring something your body no longer has, that your body used to have for decades. And they bring back something that your body is missing greatly, which has created dysfunction, so it can reverse the dysfunction by replacing hormones. Anyway, a whole different topic for another time. I will end here, and I'm going to thank you profoundly for listening to all of this, and hopefully you'll come back next week for more. Thank you so much for listening. If you are one of my faithful listeners and you are finding value and enjoying these episodes, please feel free to leave me a review on whatever platform you're listening to. Also, if you find the content in these topics useful, not just to you, but to someone else, a friend, a loved one, or simply an acquaintance that you know could benefit from the knowledge I share here, please feel free to forward my podcast to them. If you live in California and you'd like to work with our practice to help you achieve your wellness goals, please go to our website, www.herabeautyandwellness.com, and request an appointment. It will be our privilege to help you in any way, shape, and form we can. Any suggestions on a topic of beauty, wellness, or anti-aging are welcome. All you have to do is go to the website, leave a suggestion into the AI chat, and I promise you if you ask, I will listen and add your suggestion to my list of topics that I want to get to as soon as possible. Please join our Facebook group, The Wellness Optimizing Warrior MD. It's a small growing community that focuses on wellness, on what's new, what's safe, and what works in beauty, wellness, and anti-aging.